Hello friend, this is B, your host. Welcome back to our channel. I hope you all are well and doing great. So today I'm back with another video to give review on another books which are all about crime, thrilling and mystical story. So the first book which we're going to see today in this video is Ask for Andrea by Nole W. Ilhe. Introduction. In the crowded landscape of modern thrillers, it is increasingly difficult for a book to stand out. Many authors attempt to replicate the formula of fast paced plots, unreliable narrators, shocking twists, and dark subject matter. Yet very few manage to combine all these elements into a narrative that is only gripping but also thriller. Ask for Andrea is one of those rare works. It's a chilling, psychologically rich thriller that grips readers by the throat, but at the same time, it dives into the emotional and social realities of trauma, vulnerability, and survival. What makes Ahley's novel particularly compelling is that it doesn't simply present a story of crime and suspense. Instead, it functions as a mirror to society, exposing the lurking dangers in everyday life, the hidden darkness behind ordinary encounters, and the difficult road toward reclaiming safety and empowerment. The book is unflinching in its depiction of violence, manipulation, and fear, but it is also deeply empathetic toward its characters, particularly the women whose lives are endangered by predatory behavior. This review will provide an in depth exploration of Ask for Andrea, analyzing its plots, themes, characters, and stylistic choices. It will also consider the broader social commentary embedded within the narrative and assess the book's effectiveness as both a work of attainment and a piece of thought provoking literature. Plot overview. At its core, Ask for Andrea revolves around the mysterious disappearance of Andrea, an ordinary young woman whose life is suddenly and violently disrupted. What begins as a normal Evening spirals into a nightmare, pulling Andrea into the orbit of a dangerous predator. The narrative does not simply recount the surface level events of Andrea's disappearance and the investigation that follows. Instead, Elise layers the story through multiple perspectives, creating a multi-dimensional view of Andrea's fate. Readers are given glimpses into Andrea's life before her disappearance, the trauma of her experience, and the ripping effects her absence has on the people around her. This approach transforms the novel into something more than a thriller. It is both a mystery, slowly unraveling the truth of what happened to Andrea, and a psychological study of vulnerability, trust, and resilience. Narrative style and structure. One of Ellie's greatest strengths as a writer lies in her ability to use structure and perspective to amplify suspense. Ask for Andrea. Ask for Andrea, allowing us to experience her emotions, fears, and choices in devastating impact of her disappearance. This multifaceted perspective serves several purposes: suspense and tension. The fragmentic narrative forces readers to piece together clues mirroring uncertainty experienced by the characters, emotional resonance by dividing into the thoughts of multiple characters. Ely ensures that Andrea's story is not reduced to a cold crime report. It is lived, felt, and mourned. Social commentary, shifting perspectives reveal how violence and victimization are not isolated experiences. They reverberate across families, communities, and institutions. The prose itself is taut and precise. Ely does not waste words. Instead, she crafts sentences that heighten unease and propel the narrative forward. Yet amidst Yet amidst the tension, moments of reflection and tenderness provide balance, ensuring that the book is not simply relentless horror but a deeply human story. Chapter by chapter thematic progression. While a full breakdown of every chapter would be exhaustive, it is important to highlight the way the book evolves across its sections. Opening chapters. The book wastes no time in establishing tension. Andrea is introduced not just as a character but as a fully realized person with fears, desires, and vulnerability by rooting us in her humanity early. Ely ensures that stakes feel deeply personal when danger strikes. Their disappearance, the central event of Andrea's vanishing, is written with both urgency and restraint. Rather than sensationalizing violence, Hell captures the confusion, terror, and disorientation disorientation that accompany victimization, investigation, and aftermath. As friends and family search for Andrea, the narrative widens to include their grief, guilt, and determination. Here, Ely highlights the social dimension of trauma, how one person's suffering ripples outward to touch countless others. Confrontation and revelation. The later chapters builds toward a confrontation with the truth about Andrea's fate, the motives of the antagonist, and the resilience of survivors. This climax is as emotional as it is, forcing readers to reckon with the cost of violence and the possibility of healing. Themes. The vulnerability of women. Perhaps the most central theme of Ask for Andrea is the everyday vulnerability women face. The book does not present Andrea's ordeal as an isolated incident, but as part of a larger pattern of danger that women must navigate. Ordinary actions, accepting a ride, meeting a stranger, trading, trading someone, Andrea, trusting someone new can become perilous. Perilous, Haley's portrayal resonates because it reflects real world fears, reminding readers of the subtle but pervasive risks embedded in daily life. Trauma and survival. The novel is not content to simply shock readers with depictions of violence. Instead, it explores the psychological aftermath of trauma, fear, guilt, anger, and resilience. Andrea and those around her embody different facets of survival, different facets of survival, showing that healing is neither linear nor easy, but it is possible. Justice and accountability. What does justice mean in a world where violence can never be fully undone? Ailey raises this question throughout the book. While the legal system plays a role, ask for Andrea suggests that the justice also involves recognition, remembrance, and the empowerment of survivors. Friendship and loyalty. Amidst its darkness, the book highlights the strength of human bonds. Andrea's friends and loved ones refuse to let her disappearance solely define her solely as a victim. Their loyalty becomes as an act of resistance against the forces that seeks to raise her. Character analysis. Andrea. Andrea is the heart of the novel. She is not written as a flat victim but as a complex, nuanced woman. Through her perspective, readers both see her vulnerability and the strength. Her fear is palpable, but so is her will to fight, to endure, and to survive. This duality makes her one of the most memorable thriller protagonists in recent years. Secondary characters. Andrea's friends and family provide emotional ballast to the story. They are not mere background figures, but individuals with their own arcs of grief, guilt, and determination. Their portrayal their portrayal emphasizes that trauma is communal, not just individual. The antagonist, the predator in Ask for Andrea, is chilling precisely because he feels real. Ely does not exaggerate him into a caricature of evil. Instead, he embodies the everyday insidiousness of predatory behavior, manipulative, deceptive, and opportunistic. This realism makes him all the more terrifying. Atmosphere and tone. The atmosphere is one of sustained unease. Ely constructs her strengths, her settings with precision, dark roads, anonymous urban spaces, and the eerie quiet of investigations. These backdrops are not just physical places but psychological landscapes, amplifying the tension and dread. The tone, however, is not purely grim. Moments of tenderness, solidarity, and empowerment punctuate the darkness. This balance ensures that the book is not suffocating but cathartic, offering readers both fear and hope. Strengths of the book: relentless suspense balanced with emotional depth, realistic and empathetic characterization, socially relevant themes, sharp, precise prose, and narrative structure. Conclusion: Nole Elise Ask for Andrea is an outstanding psychological thriller that transcends the conventions of its genre. It grips the reader with suspense while also demanding empathy, reflection, and awareness. Its, impa- its power lies not only in the twists of its plot, also in the depth of its humanity. This is a book that lingers both as a chilling story and and a reminder of the resilience of survivors in the face of violence. For readers who want a thriller with substance, Ask for Andrea is not to be missed. Final Verdict: a haunting, emotionally charged, and socially relevant thriller that balances terror with empathy. So, the second book which we're going to see today in this video is Someone You Know by Sherry Lipena. Thrillers are often built on the tension between appearance and reality. They show us a world where people are not who they seem. Ordinary lives mask extraordinary secrets, and where danger lurks just beyond the surface. Sherry Lepena has mastered his formula, becoming a household name in the genre with books like The Couple Next Door and Not a Happy Family. Her writing style, concise, fast paced, and filled with shifting perspectives, keeps readers compulsively turning the pages. In Someone You Know, Lipena returns to the suburban domestic thriller she is best known for. The story takes place in an affluent neighborhood where everything appears calm, safe, and respectable. Families are well off, the lawns are perfectly trimmed, and neighbors smile politely when they pass one another. Yet, when a woman is found brutally murdered in her home, the community is thrust into chaos. Investigation uncovers a web of secrets, betrayals, and lies. Each family, each marriage, and even each teenager seems to have something to hide. What makes Someone You Know such a compelling read is not just the hot unit aspect, but how it explores the fragility of trust. Parents discover they don't fully know their children. Spouses realize they cannot completely trust one another. Friends and neighbors look at each other with suspicion, wondering what lies behind the closest doors of seemingly perfect homes. Plot overview: The story begins with the shocking murder of a woman in her own home, a crime that shatters the tranquility of the suburban neighborhood. Almost immediately, suspicion falls not on outsiders but on the people within the community. After all, the killer seemed to know the victim, and there are few signs of forced entry. Olivia Sharp, one of the central figures, is drawn into the chaos when her teenage son, Raleigh, is caught sneaking into neighbor's home where he insists he has been breaking is not to steal, simply to explore. Simply to explore. But his strange behavior quickly becomes quickly becomes suspicious. What if he saw something or someone that connects him to the murder? As the investigation unfolds, multiple secrets surface: fears, lies, marital dissatisfaction, and betrayals. Paul, Olivia's husband, appears increasingly distant, raising the possibility of his involvement in the crime. Meanwhile, the police piece together a trail of clues that lead them deeper into the lives of the neighborhood resistance residents. The beauty of Lepina's plotting lies in how she keeps the reader guessing. At various points, nearly every character feels like a plausible suspect. Motives range from jealousy to betrayal to rage. The revelation of the killer's identity comes as a shock but also feels inevitable in hindsight. An example of Lapina's skill in layering suspicion and foreshadowing. Chapter by chapter thematic progression. While not every single chapter can be individually unpacked here, the novel can be broken into four main sections, each with distinct thematic weight. Part 1: The Shattered Calm. The early chapters introduce the community and its veneer of perfection. Characters appear respectable, polite, and safe. Yet through Lapina's subtle hints, the reader begins to sense the undercurrent of secrecy. Realized nightmare breaks-ins are revealed here, symbolizing the intrusion of hidden truths into the community's carefully polished surface. Theme: the danger of what lies beneath. The cracks in the facade are visible only to those willing to peer behind closed doors. Part 2: Suspicion and Secrets. The murder transforms the neighborhood into a hotbed of suspicion. Friends become wary, marriages are strained, and parents begin to question their children. Olivia struggles with her loyalty to Raleigh, torn between protecting him in acknowledging his reckless behavior. Paul grows increasingly evasive, leaving Olivia to question her marriage. Trust begins to unravel, families and friendships are tested by fear and doubt. Part 3, Unraveling Relationships. As the investigation deepens, more secrets are exposed. Hidden affairs come to light, financial problems are revealed, and long buried resentments surface. Each revelation expands the pool of suspects, but also showing how fragile relationships truly are. Raleigh becomes more deeply implicated, forcing Olivia to confront the painful possibility that her son may be connected to a horrific crime. Theme: no one is truly innocent. Every character harbors something that they would rather conceal. Confrontation and resolution. The climax brings the truth to light. The killer is revealed, and while the identity shocks the characters, the groundwork laid throughout the book ensures it makes sense. The resolution ties together the narrative threads, but it also leaves readers with lingering questions about trust, family, and safety. Theme: justice and revelation do not erase trauma. The community may return to surface level normalcy, but its members will never look at each other the same way again. Themes in depth. In the heart of the novel is the theme of secrecy. Each character hides something, from minor indiscretions to life altering betrayals. The murder serves as a catalyst that forces these secrets into the open. Lepena suggests that secrecy is not an exception but a rule in human relationships. Everyone conceals parts of themselves, and these concealed truths often carry dangerous consequences. Family and parenthood. Olivia and Relly's relationship is central to the story. Olivia embodies the parental struggle of protecting one's child while acknowledging their flaws. Rely represents the unpredictability of adolescence. His actions are reckless, yet they reveal deeper insecurities and desires for control. Through this dynamic, Lepena explores how family bonds can be both unbreakable and deeply fragile. Suburban facades. The suburban neighborhood is not merely a setting but a symbol. The perfectly trimmed lawns, polished houses, polite neighbors reflect the illusion of order. The murder disrupts this illusion, revealing the chaos of and dysfunction beneath. Lapina critiques the culture of appearances, where families prioritize maintaining a facade over confronting uncomfortable truths. The fear of the familiar. One of the most unsettling aspects of the novel is that danger does not always come from strangers. The true threat lies in proximity. The people we eat dinner with, wave to across the street, across trust with our children. The title itself, Someone You Know, reinforces this theme. The killer is not an outsider, but someone intimately connected to the community. Narrative style and atmosphere. Lepina's style is defined by brevity and momentum. Her short chapters act like puzzle pieces, each adding a small revelation or perspective. This creates a compulsive rhythm, encouraging readers to keep turning pages long into the night. The atmosphere is claustrophobic and paranoid. The neighborhood setting, rather than being comforting, becomes a trap. The very closeness of the houses amplifies the fear. The killer is not far away, but possibly just a few doors down. Strengths of the book: fast paced and addictive. The short chapters shifting perspectives create constant suspense. Complex characters, Olivia, Riley, and the neighbors are multi-dimensional, making the story more than a simple hood unit. Relatable setting. The urban backdrop makes the story disturbingly plausible. Thematic depth. Beyond the murder mystery, the novel explores trust, family, and secrecy. Conclusion. Someone You Know is a prime example of Sherry Lepena's mastery of the domestic thriller. It delivers everything readers expect: suspense, shocking revelations, and a final twist that redefines the entire narrative. But it also offers more an exploration of family dynamics, the fragility of trust, and the unsettling realization that danger often comes not from strangers but from those closest to us. This novel is not just about solving a murder, it is about uncovering the truths we hide from each other and even from ourselves. It asks uncomfortable questions. How well do we really know our children, our spouses, our neighbors? Lepina's ability to make readers question their own lives and communities is what elevates Someone You Know beyond a simple thriller is both entertainment and provocation, both escapism and reflection. Final verdict: a gripping, addictive thriller that blends suspense with social commentary, reminding us that the greatest dangers may lie not in the unknown but in the people we think we know best. And the last book which we're going to see today in this video is also a crime thrilling mystical story, and the book is The Hard Way. This book is by Lee Child. Introduction. When one thinks of modern thriller fiction, Lee Child stands as one of its most recognized RT texts. His creation, Jack Reacher, has become an icon. The tall, rugged, solitary, ex military policeman who roams from town to town without a home, without possessions, and without fear of standing up to injustice. The Hard Way 2006, the 10th novel in the Reacher series, is both a quintessential Reacher story and a distinctive entry in the saga. What makes this novel particularly gripping is how it emerges psychological suspense, methodical investigation, and moral complexity into a tightly woven plot. Here, Reacher faces off against Edward Lane, a mercenary leader whose power and ruthlessness test not just Reacher's strength but also his principles. Unlike some thrillers that rely purely on explosive action, the Hard Way shows how suspense can be built step by step, clue by clue. It is not about solving a kidnapping, it is about uncovering the truth hidden beneath authority, wealth, and intimidation. This layered approach allows the novel to function both as a classic thriller and as a commentary on leadership, loyalty, and corruption. Detailed plot summary. Opening scene. The witness who notices everything. The novel begins in New York City with Reacher sitting in a cafe on 8th Avenue. He sees a man cross the street, enter a car, and drive away. A seemingly insignificant act, yet this ordinary observation becomes the hinge upon which the entire story turns. The next day, Reacher is approached by Edward Lane, a wealthy ex military contractor who commands a private group of mercenaries. Lane's wife, Kate, and her daughter have been kidnapped. The ransom has been delivered, but the family has not returned. Lane wants answers, and he wants them fast. Reacher, as the only witness to the car drove away the night before, becomes invaluable. Edward's Lane world. Lane runs his team with an iron fist. These are men trained in warfare, loyal to him for reasons of money and fear. But Lane himself is cold, ruthless, and controlling. From the start, Teacher distrusts him. Something in Lane's demeanor signals not just desperation but also menace. The investigation begins. Richard begins methodically identifying the vehicle, interviewing those connected to the ransom drop, and studying the psychology of both kidnappers and victim. Unlike Lane's approach, which is brute and force and intimidation, Reacher's analytical, logical, patient. He soon teams up with Lauren Pauling, a former FBI agent whose intelligence and experience provide both support and perspective. Pauling represents a different kind of strength, disciplined, precise but also empathetic, balancing Reacher's detached style. Twists in London. The investigation leads across the Atlantic to London when new clues emerge about Kate's past and Lane's true character. Reacher begins to uncover a disturbing truth. Kate may not simply a victim, and Lane's story is far more complicated than he admits. As Reacher digs deeper, he discovers that this is not the first time Lane's wife has been kidnapped. Years earlier, his first wife also vanished under mysterious circumstances. The echoes of the past crime suggest that Lane himself may be hiding something sinister. The revelation. The climax reveals that Lane's brutality, both in his professional and personal life, is at the heart of the crime. Kate's disappearance is not merely a random kidnapping, but a desperate attempt to escape a man who controls, abuses, and threatens everyone around him. The title The Hard Way takes on layered meaning. It is the difficult process of discovering the truth, also the punishing path Kate, Reacher, and others must endure in facing Lane's power. Character analysis. Jack Reacher. Reacher is a paradox, a loner who constantly finds himself entangled in other people's crises. In the hard way, his core qualities, keen observation, tactical intelligence, and moral clarity, shine through. He notices what others miss, calculates probabilities, and refuses to be intimidated. Yet, he is not invulnerable. Solitude and restless drifting highlight the cost of living outside society. Edward Lane. Lane is among Child's most memorable antagonists. A decorated soldier turned mercenary leader, he represents the corruption of military power when stripped of ethics. He is wealthy, commanding, but also cruel and insecure. His treatment of his mercenaries, his manipulation of Kate, and his reliance on money expose him as a man who cannot command respect without fear. Lauren Pauling. Pauling adds intellectual depth to the narrative. As a former FBI agent, she brings procedural knowledge and insight into criminal behavior. She also highlights Reacher's own nature while she is tied to institutions and law. Reachers exists outside them. The partnership underscores the tension between official justice and individual morality. Caitlin. Though absent for much of the novel, Kate's presence is central. She is more than a damsel in distress. She is a woman caught in cage, built from fear and wealth. Her struggle to escape Lane reflects broader themes of autonomy, power, and survival. Themes and motives. Justice versus power. Lane represents a system where money and intimidation dictate outcomes. Research challenges this, showing that true justice requires moral courage, not just resources. Leadership and authority. Lane leads through fear, Reacher leads by competence. The conflict is not only physical but ideological. A study of two radically different leadership models, truth and betrayal. The kidnapping itself is framed by betrayal, but more importantly, Lane's entire relationship with his mercenaries and wives is built on lies and control. Isolation versus connection. The kidnapping itself is framed by betrayal, but more importantly, Lane's entire relationship with his mercenaries and wives is built on lies and control. Isolation versus connection. Reacher is famously solitary, yet her consistently forms fleeting bonds with polling, with witnesses, even with victims. His humanity emerges through these temporary connections, though he always moves on. The Ghost of Freedom. Kate's escape and Reacher's nomadic lifestyle both suggest that freedom comes with sacrifice. To live outside control, whether lanes or societies, requires endurance and risk. Narrative style. Lee Child's minimalist prose is one of his defining features. Sentences are short, clipped, often no more than a few words. The style mirrors Reacher's mind, efficient, practical, unsentimental. While some critics argue it can be repetitive, it also creates a rhythm that propels the reader forward. Childs also excels in procedural detail. Every step of Reacher's investigation, from analyzing car tires to predicting criminal behavior, is described with precision. This grounds the novel in realism, making even the most extraordinary confrontations feel believable. Strengths of the novel. Taut pacing. Every scene builds suspense with little wasted motion. Moral depth. The novel is not just about solving a crime, but about confronting abuse of power. Rich characterization. Lane, Pauling, and even Kate are developed by with psychological nuance. Authenticity. Child's knowledge of tactics and human psychology makes the story believable. Conclusion. The Hard Way is not just another installment in the Jack Reacher series. It is one of its most defining. Through its tense narrative, sharp characters, contrasts, and thematic depth, It encapsulates everything readers love about Lee children's creation. The title itself becomes symbolic truth, justice, and freedom are never won easily. They must be pursued the hard way through persistence, intelligence, and courage. An intelligent thought and morally charged, there stands one of the Lee Child's finest works, reminding us that justice often comes only the hard way. So this is all we have from these three of the books, which are all about crime, thrilling, and historical stories. I hope you guys like the stories, like the mystery in the books included. If you did, don't forget to press the like button. And if you wanted to buy any one of these books, you can visit our Amazon page and buy it from there. I'll be back with another videos with another books. Till then, just take care and goodbye.